Pasa campeones, welcome to the Churros y Tácticas podcast. Yes, indeed, we are back with a post-Spanish Super Cup Clasico review. All of the reactions of this very tasty clash in the final. The 5-2 is coming your way. Are you ready? Sit yourselves down. A lot of good stuff is coming your way. Let's get into it. What a banger. What a banger, Kian. Applause.
The only good thing to come out of this weekend was that intro video. That's it.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you, Kian, for providing this pod with an intro that is up to the level with where this pod is heading. The direction of this podcast knows no boundaries. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a churros. It is a special edition of Churros y Tácticas, not just because of the Clasico that took place just yesterday, but churros is in full effect. It's leveling up, if you will. We are taking this podcast towards the stars and beyond, to infinity and beyond, and you are here for the ride. Enjoy it, participate. Welcome once again. Like I said, here we are a few months down the line since the first Clasico took place in October. And again, we have the joy and the privilege of discussing another massacre in the Clasico histories of Madrid-Barça, in this case, a Spanish Super Cup final that ended with Hansi Flick's Barça dismantling Carlo Ancelotti's white wall of shame. I'm gonna call it the white wall of shame, Kian. I'm gonna get into it a little bit why in a minute, but I also want to say before I introduce the founder of this podcast and pass the microphone onto him, Kian. I've changed my wallpaper, man. It's official now. My phone wallpaper.
It just turned black.
It's this beautiful picture right here.
Okay.
It's, for those listening, the iconic moment where Messi takes off his shirt in the Bernabeu and points at his name and number, but superimposed upon it is Lamine Yamal. I know the name of the game, the MVP is Rafinha, but Kian, I saw Messi last night, man. And by that, I don't expect Lamine Yamal to score as many goals, provide as many assists, win as many titles collectively, individually, but there's just something about Lamine Yamal, man. The coolness, the ease at which he finished that ball. It was a Messi-like goal. It was a Messi-like moment for me. And, well, it was the beginning of a wonderful night. So, Kian, welcome, my friend. How are you feeling?
Great. I hit a PR today doing barbell shoulder press. I got up to 45s on each side, which was good.
45 kilos?
Pounds.
Pounds.
Yes.
Can you quick maths? Is that...
I think kg is about half.
That's what I thought.
Roughly.
Roughly.
So that was nice.
So how is that? Is that? Show me the actual barbell. Okay.
Shoulder press. Standing.
So that's impressive.
Yeah, thanks. Took the kids to see Sonic 3 this weekend in the theaters. That was awesome. It's great weekend, bro. Great weekend.
I would like to think, you should thank Barça for that giving you that little added motivation to hit a personal record like that. That's...
This is the classic, the Jose Mourinho famous quote after the 5-0. He says, "Make sure everybody knows you're out. You go out with your family. You don't hide. You show yourself." So I'm taking that to heart. I'm going out in public. I'm going to the gym. I'm spending time with my kids. Let it be known that this motherfucker right here is not gonna get depressed over something that I have no control over. So let it be known.
Were you wearing a Real Madrid shirt in the gym?
I was wearing this exact managing Madrid hoodie.
Okay.
So
All right.
represent.
Representing. Fair enough.
So listen, man, I know you got questions, comments. I got questions, comments for you. So I'll let you start. I mean, this is your show. This is your moment. You're on top. So you take it where you want to take it.
Okay. Well, let me start by the point of why I call it. I'm now branding Ancelotti's football the white wall of shame, because I think it was again proven last night, rather than going toe to toe, head to head with this Barca, with Hansi Flick's Barca, the Italian manager opted for playing scared tactics, scared football, right? We're seeing one of the most talented and expensive squads in the world playing in a low block while having continuously to endure the claims that, this Madrid team, pound for pound, it's far and beyond better than Barca individually. These players are superior. Um, I don't know if you actually knew this, but something that has been annoying me and biting into my annoying me is that sites like Transfermarkt had an Endrick at a higher value than a Rafinha. And this changed recently, but only recently has this changed. So with this, and you can go over the entire squad, right? I mean, it's a narrative was crafted, and the public perception, in my opinion, has been deceived to think that this Barca squad was far inferior to this Madrid squad. But what we have seen from games, and I'm not just basing it on these two Clásicos, but what we have seen in these games under Hansi Flick so far, and compared to what we have seen from Ancelotti this season, is that when you look at Barca, you're looking at young, hungry, ambitious, talented players that have formed a very tightly knitted group and that show up in big games. And Carlos said before the game, he talked about how the defense will be key in this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing in Madrid that they don't press, they're passive, they don't attack. I mean, they had the counterattack, and Mbappe
They
deserves
they
credit.
they don't press well. I would specifically put it like we tried to press and it was a terrible idea because we suck at it.
But you don't see this Madrid side really taking an initiative to
No,
go for the game,
they're not a
right?
proactive team.
Not a proactive team. On the Blaugrana side, you're seeing great pressing. You're seeing a clear understanding of the game plan, sharp, engaged, hungry from the start, from the get go. Right? We exchanged a few rare text messages during games, I should say, where you also said, I mean, at the end of the first half, Barca could have been up 10-1. And that was, I think, the general sense all around, right? Even though Mbappe scored the great solo effort for to break the deadlock, to open the score, Barca could have already had two, were it not for great goalkeeping from Courtois. What I really liked was this team not dropping their shoulders or taking a hit in their confidence after receiving the first blow from
Yep.
Mbappe. Something that we have seen all season already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to add to that and say what another big standout point was in the 5-2 moment. In a 5-2 where Barca's down to 10 men, Rodrigo scores a cracking free kick. Me, Diego, I started getting nerves, right? I started to get PTSD, call it what you want.
Yeah.
Instead, this team, however, showed that they have matured also from games like last season against PSG, where we went down to 10 men and our knees started to buckle.
Mm-hmm.
This team continued, stayed composed. You saw, of all players, Hansi Flick all over Marc Casado, another teenager, another player that has just joined the first team, to instruct the rest of the team how the game plan was going to continue now that Barca were down to 10 men. For me,
Yeah.
it just speaks volumes. It speaks volumes of the quality that these players have already from such a young age. despite the fact that they're not maybe household names or have the big price tags of Chouameni, etc., all the Camavinga, all these players in Real Madrid. These are just very good football players that have formed a very, very good footballing team. And I think, credit has to be given all around. The Lamine Yamals will get the highlights, will get the headlines, and the Rafinhas, of course, will get the MVPs, and rightfully so. But collectively, this is just a great team right now, and they're showing it in big games. What I'm waiting for, Kian, is them to show it in the little games, in the smaller, against the more humble teams, right? With all respect, the Las Palmas, etc.,
Yeah.
to come the end of the season to be competing for the important trophies up this season. We won a trophy, a symbolic trophy against our eternal rivals. This is a great boost in morale. I think that this team needed that after some dropping a serious amount of points that has cost us the league leadership right now. But now it's the second half of the season, and we got to show up in every game and not just the big games. Yeah.
Look, Barca, I think, showed a lot of character last night, and I also would co-sign on the reaction to the red card. In that, I've been critical of Barca too, that because they have to play a certain way and they play that way. And last night they showed that they have the plan B right in the pocket. Like if they had to go down a man, they have to defend deeper. There was nothing after the red card that showed me Real Madrid were going to actually decrease the lead. We had the Rodrigo free kick. That was a set piece. That was also, to be fair to Iñaki Peña, his literally first touch, he has to deal with it. So I'm, I understand that he didn't do better on that one, maybe. The red card, and I mentioned this on the Managing Madrid podcast last night, but there's like maybe 1% of me that thought, okay, 5-2. If you make it 5-3, before like the 75-minute mark, then there's maybe a mental, psychological shift where Barca do buckle with 10 men and we kind of stumble into like 5-5 out of our ass and had to take a penalty shootout. But the like 99% of me was like, no, we're not playing nearly as good enough. What the red card ultimately did, I think, was decrease the humiliation for Real Madrid because Barca stopped attacking.
Yeah.
Because every time before the red card, every time they had the ball, they looked like they were going to score. And all the red card did was prevent this from being 10-2. And it just kept it, at a
I wonder what it would have been.
More respectable. But it's obviously not respectable at all. It was just a, quote unquote, more respectable 5-2.
Can you remember you seeing as you are, historically you've done a lot of research. Has there ever been a Clasico with 4 goals being scored in the first half? I know that obviously overall, but in the first half alone, it just that domination of I haven't seen that ever. I don't know.
The Lopetegui Clasico. What was that one?
That one ended 4-0.
I felt like most of the damage in that one was in the first half. Maybe if you go back,
I don't know if all goals were scored then. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the point is that with the 5-1, it was like, where is the ceiling here? How bad is this going to get? It really did feel like it was going to be a historic goal score, scoreboard, like score line. Sorry.
You know what? From the Real Madrid side of things, what I would, I mean, I take issue with a lot of things. I think that one of the biggest things I take issue with is the acceptance of mediocrity, because the Clásicos with Carlo have become pretty predictable, and it's like we have the same conversations after every game, and an idea of like this would be a wake up call for us. Like, hello, we had the wake up call in October. Like, this is the second time you're going through this, and you're pretending like to be surprised, and you're like, and Carlos like, we played bad. Like, no shit, you played bad. You played bad in the October one. So what was your adjustment? And this backing of him by the board. It's not, from what I know, it's not like this fake backing. There's like the fake backing where you're like before Lopetegui gets sacked, like, we believe in him. public statement. Like that's the kiss of death. But this is like a different backing. This is like a genuine like we're backing this guy. And the reality is, and it's funny because, and I look, we may still, it's sometimes in moments like this, it's hard to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you know, like sometimes when you're so emotionally down after a game like that, you start to remember like, oh yeah, we're still in all three titles in the race for all three. This is not necessarily what will define the season, but there are enough warning signs that if you don't take action now, then it's your season's cooked way earlier than it should be. And I'm just amazed that the board has accepted this kind of mediocrity because you can start to talk about who's to blame. Is it Lucas Vasquez? Is it Tchouameni? Is it Ancelotti? Is it Florentino Perez, etc.? The reality is it's a trickle down effect, and there's like a million people to blame. And it starts with the board not reinforcing signings. It starts with Ancelotti's blind belief in certain players. It also goes down to Ancelotti's naivety and his approach and his far too often reactive approach. And I know you'll love hearing this, but when was the last time Real Madrid actually played great in a big game?
I agree. Yeah.
It's probably the Spanish Super Cup last year, the 4-1. Because I'm talking about like a great game 1-90. It wasn't Leipzig home or away. It wasn't City home or away.
A game where you guys clearly dominated your opposition. Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of these games and trophies are won through heroism, individual heroism from Courtois, goal line clearances from Carvajal, last second tackle from Rudiger. It's Vinicius dribbling through three players. I mean, the only thing that was good last night was Mbappe actually looked like himself again.
Right.
But he's alone. Like, just think about like what we're asking our attacking players to do. We're not asking them to just be individually great. We're asking them to be like generationally great in order to get results. Mbappe has to do a roulette around Koundé, carry the ball into the box, do a back heel to Bellingham just to unlock a chance. Yeah, it looks great. Very talented player, obviously. But the fact that you need that kind of generational individual brilliance to win games is not sustainable, or it should not be acceptable. So look, when I say like our tolerance for mediocrity, we should not tolerate it. We've won trophies. We've done a lot with this group. But when I'm talking about mediocrity, is like just this acceptance of losing this way. And it's not just Barca. Obviously, when you lose against Barca, it gets magnified. But we've been pretty trash all season, apart from like a little. There was so much talk, Diego, but like, oh, this is a different Real Madrid side than the October Clasico. They're in a better state. But obviously, this is a huge regression, and that didn't turn out to be true. And so,
listen, can I quickly interject here and ask if you saw the exchange between Florentino Perez and Modric?
Yes. Yeah, I saw it.
So it was reported here that Florentino said something along the lines of, well, we were going to have to lose a final at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have to say, throughout the award ceremony, a lot of the cameras were focused on Laporta and Florentino Perez. And I noticed let's say he seemed quite, I mean, passive is not even the word. It was kind of like chill. He had a smile on his face, little smirk. He gave Laporta a little like tuck on the cheek and, pat on the shoulder. And I was like, he looks quite chipper. I mean, for just having lost a final.
It was also his
humiliating
laughing with Lewandowski after the game.
Right. And when the here on Movistar, they said, the phrase that, hey, we're going to have to lose a final at some point. And you see both of them kind of like, hey, yeah, what are you going to do? I was surprised by that. Now that you mentioned this mediocrity.
To be fair, in that moment, in that specific moment of the Modric exchange, I'm like, what do you say to that? Like, I mean, I don't know. It was just probably it could have just been in like awkward interaction, like him needing to say something to one of the greatest midfielders that's ever played the game. I don't know. Like maybe he just. Honestly, I might freeze in that situation and just say something stupid. So I'm like sympathetic in that situation, but
Mhm.
when I say like acceptance of mediocrity, I'm more talking about like general. Like, how are you okay with playing this way? How are you okay with the squad that you built? How are you okay with having such
Yeah,
blind trust in certain players? And how are you
exactly.
okay with
But
not learning anything from the first Clasico and not
mm.
making any adjustments and playing worse somehow? Played worse.
But but that's what I mean. So Florentino's demeanor being kind of, accepting of the situation, as you put it, mediocrity, kind of also highlighted to me the fact that I have also heard that the backing of Angelotti is very real, and
Yeah.
it kind of it seems that they are a little bit, yeah, I don't know, accepting of what the current outcome is of all of these talented players that they put together, led by Carlo Angelotti, a coach who does not seem to have any interest neither in trying to be more creative, more experimental, more brave, and that is, yeah, very astonishing. And that's
Yeah.
easy to say now. The thing is, we know that this season could end with Madrid winning a treble, a double, or
Trouble, no.
winning
I
the
don't, I
Champions
mean,
League. Well, I'm just saying, like, let's just, I mean, winning the Champions League with Carlo, this we've
Champions League
seen
is
this.
always possible. Like
It's always possible,
I
but it's
said this
how
last
long are you
night.
going to be? Mhm.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
I said this last night that the worse we are, the higher hope I have for winning the Champions League because
yeah.
that's just we've seen that movie before. So I'm not. Look, if Carlo Ancelotti tomorrow rolled out me and you in the Champions League against Manchester City, I'd still like be confident Real Madrid would somehow find a way to win. It would be
Hmm.
probably like Mbappe carrying both of us, but it's on the table. But you know, I don't know. Like let me ask you this because what's your temperature read on all of this from a long-term vision standpoint? Well, let's focus on Barca.
Mm.
You've seen Barcelona beat Real Madrid plenty of times over the years, sometimes and sometimes emphatically, like we've seen twice this season. And that doesn't hasn't necessarily been a reflection of where Barca end up at the end of the season. Obviously, they had an entire spell where they dropped points in 6 of 7 games, and so I mean, last night was a trophy, so let's even put that aside. But um, you know, in the end, how much does it mean to you to win these Clásicos so emphatically and have a great time? I mean, I saw all the images in the locker room. Who was it that was mocking Vinny's celebration? Like, they're having fun with this, right?
Hmm.
And so, how much of this
Yeah.
gives you hope for the rest of the season, or are you still skeptical on that side of things?
Well, I think that this is something that we need to savor. We need to enjoy. I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating a title and a win like this, especially given the fact that it's over our eternal rivals, right? Our arch rivals, and the history between Barca and Madrid, is well documented. And this kind of adds another chapter into this illustrious history of what I always call the biggest club football match in the world. Something that I've tuned into for over 3 decades, and so do over 500 million. I think it's nearly like I don't know what the numbers are. If they were up to a billion in terms of global audience, but this is the game where people stop their work for. Traffic is stopped. It's everybody enjoys these games, so it's great for bragging rights, but in terms, and this is the important part that you were alluding to, the long term or mid to long term perspective of this is the bottom line. A win like this has to actually serve a bigger purpose, obviously, and that is
Yeah,
to win those trophies at the end of the season. And that's what I was referring to in the beginning, in the intro as well, that I hope that a win like this, what this does is ignite or continue to ignite a fire within the team's belly, that will propel them uh, at the latter stages of the Champions League and then the La Liga and everything. Obviously, now we dropped down to third. This was a double whammy, a 1-2 punch for Madrid, because you also lost the La Liga top spot against Atletico. So it's La Liga title race is hotter than ever. With Barca, I think we're down 6 points. So there's a lot of ground to be made up there in La Liga. And of course, the Champions League and the Copa that continues now on Wednesday against Betis. Betis, a side that we just dropped points to in the Benito Villamarin. So we could be knocked out of the cup, in 2 days. And then we'll be talking about, the whole Clasico effect will have faded away. We will see. So all of this I'm trying to say is that we have, it has to translate into winning trophies. Otherwise, it is just, war stories that you tell to your grandkids of that time where you saw Barca dismantle Madrid in the Super Cup and win 5-2, but it was, meaningless in the end.
I mean, we'll see at the end of the season. I do think and look, I know you're going to disagree with this. That's fine. And it's not. This is even less about Barcelona and more of a general Real Madrid thing. Anyone who plays against Real Madrid, and by the way, this is part of the reason why we don't have as many league titles as we should. Everyone who plays against Real Madrid circles that as the biggest game of the season. We get everybody's A game all the time. And I just don't think we're treating our opponents with enough respect. In some cases, like I think we gave Barca way too much respect. I think you would agree with that part, because we don't play the way we want to play. And actually, like, it's funny enough because that is the big contrary to what Ancelotti said, which I don't even think is, I think is indicative of where he is on a coaching tactical level right now. He said we tried to play football. Like, the plan wasn't to play long balls in the first half. He said that wasn't the plan. And again, what are you actually discussing behind the scenes? How much are you scouting Barca? What are you talking about in training? How is this your version of trying to play football? It makes no sense. There is another coach, and I could probably name 4 or 5, who come in with this exact same Real Madrid squad, and it's lights out. Tell me, like, you don't look at the talent level in attack. There's one thing about the defense, right? The defense has been so permeable. We can't press. We can't, and quite frankly, the way I saw us open up in the way we were set up defensively, and I don't want to get into some of the more tactical wrinkles. I've already done that last night. But seeing how Real just set up defensively, I would have much rather just to really own it and go into the lowest block possible and just straight up Catenaccio counter-attacking football. I would have much preferred that than us trying to play football, quote-unquote trying to play football yesterday. Mm-hmm. I would have much rather okay, just lean into it then. Pick your lane, pick your identity, and just go deep into a low block unapologetically the way you did at the Etihad. And at least that would be a much more better defensive solution than what we saw yesterday. Well, please tell me, how can a team with Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., and Jude Bellingham not even cross the halfway line? How?
Yeah.
I don't get that part. I don't get that part.
Who gets the biggest blame, player wise? Ancelotti apart.
Player wise,
yeah. Is it Tchouaméni?
I think it's
defensive efforts.
It's probably like 1A, 1B, Vasquez, Tchouaméni. But again, putting it that way is also, I think, a little bit harsh. I mean, blaming Vasquez is what it is. I mean, it's kind of unfair, unfortunately, but it is also fair. It's unfair because Lucas Vasquez was never meant to be your starting right back ever. That should never have been the situation. If you have Lucas Vasquez in a 23-man squad who is contributing here and then, there, providing minutes, the guy is a humble servant. He works hard, but he's just not at that good level, right? At that great level. He's in the squad, fine, but he shouldn't be your starting right back. So that part is not his fault. I mean, he's been the biggest defensive liability in our team like all season. So that, I mean, it's his fault absolutely to an extent. So I'm not going to absolve him from blame, but he's just not good enough. So that part is on the board. But the the fact that the board didn't strengthen the team's defense, Ancelotti still has decisions to make and abilities to mask our defensive issues, mask our weaknesses, and come up with a better solution. He also does not have to play Lucas Vasquez every game. He also does not have to play Aurelion Chouameni when Raul Asensio has been outperforming him. And the only reason he's not playing is because he's from Castilla, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So now, and I made this point last night, I think this is a very key, important point, Diego, is that the only reason we knew Raul Asensio is ready for a game like yesterday is because we were forced to bring him into the team due to ACL tears and lack of signing. So we're like, okay, I guess we have no choice but to bring in
Yeah.
this kid. Turns out he's actually good, right? And so we now know, because we were forced to play him, how good he is. We have a couple good right backs in La Fabrica and Castilla who are very promising. And I've seen the argument like last night, like, oh, well, you can't start them in a Clasico. Yeah, no shit. That can't be their first game. But if you had given them a shot 4 months ago and eased them in, maybe they were ready by now. Maybe they could have played last night, just like Raul Asensio was eased in. And so there's also that side of it too. Yeah, there were other things, but I can't remember what I was going to say. We also have a couple super chats and like 7 minutes left.
What's crazy though is to see, you know, again, with your Gulars on the bench and everything, that I mean, I can't even imagine how frustrated you must feel that he's just faded into the darkness once again. Same can be said for Endrick, but you know, you being the all and out president of the Guler fan club, how frustrating is that to see, you know, even with, because at some point Carlo took out all your players with yellow cards. By the way, something we didn't talk about, how you guys really should have been down to 10, if not 9 men as well. But
Yeah.
Camavinga, Vinny, and Chouameni, I think, were all substituted out,
Yeah.
and still no sign of Guler.
What is going to happen in this situation is, and this is unfortunately the one of the key points with Carlo, is that he's going to, I think, squeeze the rotation even tighter, because when the job security is on the line, he's going to have little patience for grooming young players and just going to tighten the circle of trust of and use the veterans is how I see it. There have been cases, to be fair, like in 2022 when we were playing really bad, we eventually won that Champions League with that epic run. One key point in that, the turning point, was he finally realized he has to bench Marco Asensio and start incorporating Rodrigo and Camavinga more. And so for that reason, we were we were able to turn it around. So he has to come to that realization as well right now. And it's not even just so much about Goulet. I mean, Goulet hasn't been, to be fair, that good on the field, but he has had brilliant moments. And it's going to be really hard for someone like Goulet to get rhythm when you're playing this little.
Yeah.
So
the thing, like the thing you mentioned with Madrid being, you know, teams bringing their A game. I mean, it obviously it's in the same line as Football Club Barcelona. I was just kind of interested in the point you were trying to hit home there. What were you trying to say with
what I'm saying is that it's a criticism of Real Madrid more than anything. It's not a knock on any opponent. Real Madrid are way too talented to show up and play like shit and look lazy and be complacent.
Right.
Everyone we play against comes out and treats it like this is the biggest game of our lives, as they should. It's not a criticism of any of those teams. That's what but
no, I didn't perceive it as such. I was just trying to.
But we really somehow need someone to come in and kick us in the ass. This is why Jose Mourinho was super needed at the time. to like come in and be like every game is like this. Zidane, for all the criticism he got, because like I remember Ewan would always get so mad at Zidane for calling every game a final. And, like I kind of like that philosophy. Why do you think we don't have as many league titles as we should? Because we just sleepwalk through half of this. And mind you, last night was a final against your biggest rivals. If you can't get up for that, then what are you going to get up for? Really, you really have to wait for the Champions League anthem to be blaring, and it has to be like a
Right.
season on the line, do or die
So
situation.
you know that you and I, we've gotten in so many back and forths discussions asked by our patrons. By the way, for those of you watching, go on over to patreon.com/churros y tácticas, where we give you that special attention, that
We had
treatment that
some
you know.
incredible. We had the Friday show for patrons over on patreon.com/churros y tácticas.
Yes, I need to get
Diego
back on
dropped
some of the
some
comments.
secret bombs about Danny Olmo.
But something I'm looking forward to discuss, because there are developments in the Dani Olmo and Pau Victor department. But the point I was trying to drill home here, as we're, I feel, almost wrapping up the show, because I know you got to go in a couple minutes. But fast forward time, Kian, you guys lift the Champions League trophy. We're again talking about the exact same thing. We're being asked by our patrons for the importance of substance over results, if you will,
Yeah.
quantity over quality. Is it all about winning and trophies, or does there have to be some substance behind that style of football as well?
Yeah.
Where are you? I feel like maybe you're pivoting. We're seeing a shift here a little
No,
bit.
I'm not pivoting. My stance on this has always been clear, Diego. I've always been very process oriented and not results oriented to a degree. I think whether you win or lose, you have to evaluate what you did wrong and what you did right. If you win and you play bad, you have to look at all the things you did wrong and improve for the next game so that you can win with a bigger margin of error. And I don't think Real Madrid do that. They win a lot, but they scrape by a lot without actually improving what they did the game before. Likewise, if you lose and you play really well and you did everything you can and you just had a moment of shit luck, you also have to be non-reactionary to the loss in that
Trust the process.
situation and trust the process. Correct.
Correct.
Having said that, I still think the most important thing is a trophy at the end. So if you were to ask me, Keon, would you
Is
if
Ancelotti's son? Yeah, go on.
okay, so let me give you a hypothetical. If for the rest of my life we lost every Clasico 10-0, we played like shit all season, and then won the Champions League title at the end of the year, I'd sign up. And in part because I think it would be hilarious.
I don't want to live in that simulation. I don't want to live in that simulation. Don't bring me there. It's already bad enough as it is. I'm like, that is the simulation we are currently living in. So, oh my god.
I mean, I honestly would be very curious to know what a Kool-Aid feels in that situation. I really got to go, but and we got 3 super chats, but I'd be very curious to know what Kool-Aids would feel about that reality if you just wiped the floor with Real Madrid, like just humiliated them twice a season, and then Real Madrid won the titles every year. Like, is that a trade you would make? I mean, I'd be very curious to know.
No, I can't even wrap. I mean, it's kind of like the world we're living in. So, but I don't even want to go deeper than that, because it's frustrating enough as it is.
All right, 3 super chats, Diego. Samer Zarur says, Kitson. Okay, great start. Kitson, if the game ended 8 per X, Carlos
Per X.
sacked. I think that means if like it ended 8-0 or something, would Carlo get sacked? Maybe.
8 per X.
I'm not sure. I guess if the question is,
I guess if the higher margin, the goal margin was higher, yeah, would he have gotten the sack?
I don't know. I don't think so, because the aggregate score with Barca so far is 9-2. So how far off are we from that actually? Pranav Jadhav says, Keon, have you seen a worse performance by us ever? With all due respect, this Barca is really good, but not epic. Diego, congrats on the win. Well deserved. What makes Culés happier, trophy or beating Real Madrid? You want to go for first?
Um, I mean, like I said, I view the Spanish Super Cup as a symbolic trophy. The fact that it's against Real Madrid definitely makes it sweeter. So I guess I would have to say, you know, beating Madrid, I would say over the Super. If it was La Liga, obviously any other trophy, I would have said the trophy. But the Spanish Super Cup, it's just a fun little treat, and Madrid being the cherry on top. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Sure. I think so. Yeah. Is this our worst performance ever? I mean, do you know the amount of times that we've logged on to a podcast saying, is this our worst performance ever? So just take your pick. Pranav also says, P.S. Diego, good luck. We'll be fully supporting.
Pranav,
Supporting the show.
you are a big support, my friend. You have
Yeah.
definitely become one of the big supporters, and I appreciate all of you's support.
Yeah.
And even more so if you were signing up to patreon.com/churros y tácticas, because that's where all that goodness is. It's become the bread and butter that mixes into a nice fat churro.
Listen, closing thoughts from me as well. I love that we have a lot of new Kool-Aids listening to this podcast. In part, like there's probably three good things that came out of this game. One, it's that we got a new intro. Two, is that Mbappe played well. Three, it's that we got more Kool-Aids to join the show, because if Barca do well, I think it's more incentive to them to kind of tune in to hear, one, Diego's perspective, and two, see a salty version of me. So congratulations. I love having you guys around. I've mentioned this to Diego several times. Most of my best friends are Kool-Aids. That's why when Real Madrid lost last night, I got more messages from my friends than I did in any Champions League victory. We've because people want to see me lose to Barca. So all my best friends are Kool-Aids somehow. I welcome you in the show. It's cool. I like the banter as well. Come on in, join the family. If you like to support the show, Diego was going to lean into this Churros Tácticas full time. He's going to be unchained. I shouldn't say anything else. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. If you want more of this, more raw versions of Churros y Tácticas. Win or lose, there is no cowardly behavior from neither me nor Diego. We show up even in the good, the bad, the everything. All right. Diego, it's a pleasure. Congrats. And if you're a managing Madrid member, we'll see you in a second. We got a live show coming up. Thanks, guys. Peace out.
Cool. Thank you. See you guys on Thursday.